All right, folks, welcome back to the Purple Friday Show, episode 235. I hope everybody had a great new year. We've been off for about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. There's a span of like 3 games in 11 days that occurred, Christmas, New Year's, all that stuff. So hope everybody have a good time, get a good time, getting themselves reset for the new year. Are there any New Year's resolutions for you guys this year? I realized I stopped the resolution thing. I'm like, I'm going to try to get better each year. But I'm like,
I stopped. I did stop, but I did start back this year. I did start back. I got a list. Some of the list is shared between me and my wife. Some of them are individual goals. Have a lot to do with a lot of things happening in the near future, and the list is pretty long, but it's realistic. So
yeah, that's dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, me. I'm just trying to get into boxing, man. I'm telling you, y'all gonna
Nice.
see my old tail getting knocked out by somebody in a couple of years. I'll be up there looking like Nate Robinson, but yeah, get into boxing just to like.
as long as I'm the guy to throw the towel in, I'll just be that guy.
Like,
y'all
let us be in your
gonna-
corner so we can save you.
I'm looking like Martin in the corner with the face all swollen.
Yeah.
lumped up by what is it?
Yeah.
Tommy the Hitman Hearns.
Yeah.
Some charity boxing event, right? He's like, wait a minute, you still was like. Gervonta Davis
Charity
shows
is
up.
my
Wait a
medical
minute.
bills.
I thought it was a charity event.
Yeah, we'll give you some charity art.
Yeah, but apparently, he said Tank Davis said this is it. And I think he's not fighting anymore.
Yeah, they always say that sometimes.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
I think
cap.
it's just one of those things where he gonna fight, he gonna get paid, and then some time is gonna pass, and he probably gonna get that itch again, whether it's for the money or whether it's for the boxing. But I doubt that lasts for long. I mean, he's still young, and boxing needs him kind of right now. I mean, I can imagine the payday is only going to get bigger every time you go out there, so it's going to be hard to turn down that bread.
Yeah, I think the main thing he was saying that he was like, is he didn't like the fact that it felt like the Paul brothers and stuff had been kind of just taking all the light away from professional boxing, and everybody's been looking at amateur boxing more. So he's like trying to take in a stand. So
yeah, I get that part too. I mean, but we in a new day, obviously, and if boxing was strong enough on its own, then the Paul brothers may not be a thing. But unfortunately, it kind of took that to kind of rejuvenate at least the interest. I'm not saying the sport overall, but at least the interest is kind of drummed up a little bit more with all of the figures that he's drawn to the sport, just to watch, whether it's Mike Tyson or anybody else.
Yeah, and I think the thing about professional boxing too is that in fact it's like it just takes too long to get fights to go. Like it just takes too long. And then there's all this like political stuff that goes involved, and it's like jockeying between each side. Then the fight get called off and it's back on you because you don't have time for that. Like we want to see these people fight. Like I think the culmination of it for me was the Pacquiao Floyd Mayweather fight. That should have happened like 5 years before it actually happened.
Yeah.
So it was that for me was like, yeah, I won't watch this. But then Tank Davis showed up. He's from Baltimore, so I was like, I'll watch it. Yeah. I like Terrence Crawford too, so I watched those two. But anyway, back to Ravens football. So the 2024 NFL season, regular season, is over. Coming into this year, Ravens obviously a number one seed from last season. They were 14-3 last year. Number one offense, number one defense, and they get taken out in the AFC Championship game to the Kansas City Chiefs. So obviously, going into this season, there was a lot of optimism or a lot of scrutiny on this team and Lamar Jackson. The Ravens go out and get Derrick Henry, who was their big free agent signing in the offseason. I think a lot of us were optimistic, but there were definitely some, holding things back a little bit because we just didn't know what we were going to get from Derrick Henry this year. He's a 30-year-old quarter running back who's had a lot of wear and tear, especially in Tennessee, and we just didn't know, how that offense was going to look. And I think the first few weeks, we were like, I don't know how this is going to work. This don't look good. They're not giving him the ball enough and whatever. And then we saw that Bills game. The Bills game, just right out the gate, I think it was first or second play of the game, and it was an 80-yard touchdown. And then there was a couple games here and there where it went back and forth. But I think since like week 8, week 9, he's been getting the ball 20 plus times a game. They said, I think when Derrick Henry gets the ball 18 plus times with the Ravens in a game, they don't lose. Like they haven't lost a game where Derrick Henry gets the ball 18 times, at least 18 times a game. And he got, was it just under 2,000 yards? He had like 19, I think it was like 1,900 yards, somewhere around there this year running.
Mm-hmm.
They had over 7,000 yards of total offense this year, which is almost 700 yards more than they had last year when they were number one offense from last season.
It's crazy.
Lamar Jackson having 5,000 total yards of rushing and passing. He had 4,000 yards. This is before entering in the Browns game. He had 4,000 yards passing and 900 yards rushing. Never been done by any quarterback in the NFL. We saw the emerge, like Rashad Bateman had a breakout year this year, obviously with the extension in the offseason. We saw Justice Hill, I think, finally get his role solidified. I think he'd been on the team for a long while now, and we really didn't know where he really fit inside this offense. But I think Monken found a good position for him, and even him being so small compared, he's like one of the best pass blockers on the team. Like he does a phenomenal job of being that extra blocker for Lamar, doing the wheel routes, doing the screen plays, that kind of stuff. So we saw him play well this year. All-Pro Marlowe, he got that right back this year. He did make the All-Pro team this year as a slot cornerback. He did make the All-Pro team as a slot corner. But that's his best role. It's been his best role since he came into the league. So he made a phenomenal step. Kyle Hamilton made another All-Pro, second time now in his rookie, still under a rookie contract. We didn't get the sack totals we usually got from last season, but the defense, I will say, since the bye week, since they've had the structuring on the defense, figuring those things out, the defense has looked, they've been top two. I think they've showed the rankings since that bye week. The Ravens have been in the top three teams on defense. They've been getting return to takeaways. Nate Wiggins gets a pick 6 this past weekend. I'll say this, from my standpoint, I know the records doesn't show that because I think the Ravens finished 12-5 this year compared to 14-3, number one seed, obviously. But it feels like after the bye week, with how the offense has been playing and how the defense has been playing, this might be a better team than it was last season at this time. It might be just because of the addition of with having Derrick Henry in the backfield now, knowing like J.K. Dobbins at this point in the year got hurt. Like he was done for the season, and they just had Gus Edwards and Justice Hill. And he, again, didn't know how to utilize either both of them. And now both of J.K. and Gus are gone to San Diego. But now with Derrick Henry healthy, Justice Hill now healthy, and Keaton Mitchell healthy now as well, it feels like to me as a compliment to the rest of this offense with Mark Andrews and Likely and Collard, this team right now feels a lot better than it did at the end of 2023 last season, which is, I know, is wild to say because they had number one seed last year, but just how they're constructed and how they're playing right now feels a lot better. So that's my takeaways from this regular season.
Yeah, I mean, I can't agree with you more on that. That was pretty much a great summary of my take as well. I mean, yeah, like you said, last year 14-2, top seed offense, went to the AFC Championship game. The fact that we can sit here and say that our offense has actually performed a lot better than that team, that's saying something. That speaks volumes to what the potential is going forward in the playoffs. I think, the Ravens, we started off, 0-2. I mean, just to think that this year started off with 2 straight losses and we were kind of backs against the wall, kind of question ourselves and trying to figure out what do you do next. We kind of saw a large part of what our issues were early on. And, whether it be defensively, whether it be in special teams, whether it be inconsistency in the offense or at least in certain players on our offense, we got a late bye week and we kind of turned around a lot of that stuff. I mean, even going into the bye week, we kind of started to clean it up. But the fact that the coach just kind of figured out a way to, rework this defense and, with the removal of Marcus Williams, Eddie Jackson and the likes and reshaping this defense to put the safeties deep in Kyle Hamilton or Darius Washington, let them be the 2-back safeties. It kind of made a world of difference for the defense. And in turn, that kind of helps our offense as well. Just being able to get teams off the field quicker than what we usually have had. So a lot of just like major changes that kind of shifted the way our team functions going into this playoff. So obviously that's a credit. Lamar, what more can you say? I mean, he's been playing phenomenal. He's an MVP. Should be his third MVP this season. I'm sure we'll get into that, but the fact that he's already won 2 MVPs and this year has been light years better than those previous 2 MVP campaigns. That just tells you right there the trajectory that our offense has been on, throughout the season. Because even in a lot of those games that we didn't take care of, we got 5 losses this year, but you can't really blame Lamar for all of them. A lot of those came down to defensive meltdowns and special teams debauchery, honestly. So just all in all, what a perfect time in the season to bring it all together, especially offensively, the consistency that we're now getting with our players. And like you said, Miles, with different roles of our key players being established in this offense, our offensive line seems to be playing a lot more cohesive than they've been in the past. That was a major question, even in the back half of our season, when we were trying to figure out things. There were plays, that were being made by other teams just because our offensive line still seemed like it was in flux at times, but they're figuring it out. They've played a lot better, and we've played some guys. I mean, we've played TJ Watt at this point 2 times already. We've played Myles Garrett at this point 2 times already. There have not been too many major plays. Maybe in that first game, I think TJ Watt went off on us a little bit, but that was early on in the season. And this back half of the season, man, it seems like we've gotten it all together. I think overall, we're just a good complementary football team at this point. I don't want to talk about Justin Tucker too much because I just don't want to jinx anything, but he has answered some of the calls. He just hasn't been called on as much. But, the few times he has had kicks, I mean, he's been flawless ever since, the meltdown he's had. So that's another thing to take away. So once again, we're just clicking in on all cylinders. It's like you said last year with like key players, Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell and Isaiah Likely. I'm just naming like the guys who step in and make plays that aren't necessarily the feature guys, but those guys are making plays when we need them. And that's good, especially in a situation like we had this weekend when Zay Flowers is not playing. We need those guys to continue to step up. And Keaton Mitchell not even being like, last year this time, we're like, Keaton Mitchell gets hurt. It's like, oh my God, it might be over. This year it's like, Keaton Mitchell is a luxury to us at this point. Would we love to have him? Absolutely. But it's like, if he goes down, it's not like a panic. Zay Flowers is going down. We're not panicked. We don't like it, but we're not panicked because we know that we have weapons on the outside that Lamar can get the ball to. So all in all, phenomenal year. There's still a lot to be desired when it comes to, coaching and penalties and things like that. But I do think we're slowly but surely cleaning some of those things up. I like what I've seen in the last few weeks from this Ravens team. And really, I have no complaints going into this weekend. So, 11-5 team, or is that a record? 11-5? 12-5?
12-5, yeah.
12-5, yeah.
12-5 team, but we're so much better than 12-5 team, obviously. So it seems like we cleaned a lot of that stuff up, and I think things are on the up and up.
Cool. This season has been interesting, and I'll say why. Because I think the things we've seen when the Ravens have been successful under Lamar is that we peak early and we don't continue to improve as we go into the playoffs. This season has been different. We started out, y'all said it. It was a hot mess in the beginning of this year. Offensively, we could do what we want. Defensively was like, I would dare say the worst defense I've seen over that period of time. Just the worst Ravens defense. Some of it just looked like, who the hell are these guys on the field and why are they in the NFL? So I think as the season went on, we saw improvement from so many areas. Offensive line, number one, because preseason, they looked like hot garbage. We were concerned. We were breaking down film, looking for a glimmer of hope for Falafel and Rosengarten and Voorhees. But as the season went on, that offensive line just got better and better and better. And even when they had some bad games, they would bounce back. I mean, think about it. We've never have a. I'm not going to say we've never. We've only had one time we had a Ravens rusher go for this much. And this is the most rushing yards we've ever had from a Ravens team, the most passing yards, the least amount of sacks. Granted, we have Lamar Jackson. But there's so many things that hang your hat on with this offensive line and the improvement. You look at the defense. Worst in the league. Past how many weeks has it been? 8 weeks. We're number one in all these categories. When you look at the evolution of Rashad Bateman, the evolution of Zay Flowers, the evolution of Owe, so many guys stepped up. So many. The evolution of our Darius Washington. This is a team that grew over this year. They grew and they improved, and now they are about to peak. Now they are starting to peak. We're seeing the improvement come to fruition, and we're starting to put it all together. Justin Tucker, he stopped snorting. What did he stop doing, Miles? He got off the what?
Off the coat.
He got off the coke, and now he's making field goals. So we're starting to put the whole thing. We have a different punt returner and kick returner every week, but they're being productive now. So we're just seeing this team come full circle, and it gives so much confidence going into the playoffs. And it's just been great to see. You know, I even want to give credit to Zach Orr. You know, we were really questioning early in the season his ability to really coach this team that was ready to win now. And we've seen Dean Pease come in and mentor him and help with game planning and situational stuff. But we've seen him mature in this role as a defensive coordinator. Like, there's just so much to be proud of this season. And like you said, Trey, we're not really a 12-5 team. We're a team that had to grow into our potential. And now we're seeing that coming to full fruition. So this has been one of the most exciting Raven seasons of recent memory. And I say excitement because it was very polarizing throughout the year. But I think I'm just so proud of this team and seeing the way guys evolved, and that we're not having a conversation about getting rid of half the team next year. So
yeah,
that's how I'm feeling.
Yeah, so you're saying the Ravens are growers, not showers. Yeah.
Hey, man, pause. You must have been watching the Joe Budden podcast. I literally just heard that on that podcast yesterday.
Yeah, me too.
No, like mentioning especially our Darius Washington, like I don't think any of us expected him to step into that role the way he did this year. Like I don't think when we saw him there at strong safety, I felt like when they were in the secondary room, like probably at the castle, like just trying to figure out, okay, look, Marcus ain't working, Eddie's not working. Like, who do we got left? We got Sanusi Kane, who's like a rookie. Like we lost Geno Stone last year. Like who else is available? And maybe our Darius was kind of like me. Maybe I'll try. I'll try it out. And it's worked. Look, he's made probably two of the biggest plays on defense like those last 2 out of 3 games. When you look at that Steelers game, where he hits Russell Wilson in the middle of the field and knocks the ball out of his hands. Because if Russell scores a touchdown in that moment, in that part of the game, Ravens may not win that game. The momentum was clearly with the Steelers. Getting that ball back was crucial. And then in that Texans game, where the Ravens were only up, was it 10-0 or something weird, 9-0 because they had the safety. It was like 9-2 or something like that.
Yeah.
So it was like with Darius Washington hits on fourth and goal, and just at the last minute comes out and knocks the guy out of bounds and gets that 4th down stop. When you see, I don't know which coach it was.
That was Zachary Orr.
Was that Zach Orr?
Yeah.
Zach Orr like leaps and almost breaks his back or something trying to celebrate our Darius Washington. But he's made some huge plays, like just in the middle of the field, tackling, getting those kind of stops. I think they said we were waiting on like who was going to fill that role with Kyle Hamilton playing free safety, who was going to kind of fill that role in those areas. And so far, Darius Washington has done it. And I also just love it. Looks after I think that Michael Pierce interception when he runs like 2 yards, 6 and 8. And I think it had it been on the other part of the 50, maybe he would have tried. He was like, oh, maybe I'll go 10 yards to see what I get. He realized I gotta go 70. Nah, I'm good.
That man knows his abilities.
So, but I just loved like the defense, like at when he kneeled down and defense, just everybody, the whole defensive staff, just jump like and they called it play of the year. I remember I was at the bar with my friend watching the game. I was cracking up laughing the whole time because I know exactly why he did it and stuff. And but it was just nice. I think a good culmination at the end of that game. Because it had been a really weird game too. Like it just felt like the Ravens were kind of going through the motions early on. Like why are the Browns still hanging around in this game? And then they finally figured it out in the second part of the game. But just dropping Michael Pierce back in coverage was wild. Like
that's really what I wanted to get to is the play call.
They were playing around in that game.
But he got back there though. He was
just dropping him back to just take up the middle of the field. Is that
nobody saw it coming?
No one. And he answered the call. So it came right to him. He got the ball. He was like, yeah, I just loved watching that. I've watched that several times since. Guys, everybody they were fanning him and stuff as he was sitting down. So it feels like this team is having fun, right? I think they're having fun. They're all hyped for each other, and that's what I like to see. Like guys are making plays out there, and guys are just excited for other. Like they know, like there are a lot of guys in these situations where they're only really there either as a depth piece or somebody gets hurt kind of thing. And to see them all continue to make plays, and that's what Ravens football I think from years past has been built on. Is that even if the first guy got hurt, you knew there was somebody second string that could fill that role for a little bit of time if they needed to. And I think that's what I've seen this season. Like I said, seeing guys, I think guys are more comfortable in their roles on the teams on both sides of the ball. Where he's like Justice Hill is fine with I'm not getting all the carries and stuff, but he's involved in this offense. And I think it's not lost on Ravens fans and Ravens media in general how important Justice Hill has been to the passing game of this team. Charlie Kolar, before he got hurt, was well involved as well. Seeing Bateman get better in this situation. Now it looks like Nelson Aguilar may be on his way out. I think he was a healthy scratch in that Browns game. He might play in this game, but I know if Tez Walker emerging now, I don't know if he might be done. Nelly might be done with the Ravens at this point. But it just goes to show, even also with losing the offensive line coach, in preseason, passed away unexpectedly. And there was a lot of questions about how this offensive line was going to, like you said, Travis, you said how this offensive line was going to look. And they've rotated guys in and out, and it's just been, it's worked. Rosengarten has been phenomenal the last 3 weeks, considering who he's had to guard. He's had to guard TJ Watt and Myles Garrett in the last 2 or 3 games. Yep. And he's done a phenomenal job at that spot. And these aren't like, meaningless games. I mean, TJ Watt and them are trying to win a division against us in that game. Myles Garrett was trying to get his, 100 sacks? I think he was trying to get 100. Was it 100? Career?
Yeah, I think he got it. Whatever he got, he got it.
He's got like 103 now. So yeah.
Okay. He was trying to get something. He was trying to get something. He didn't get it in that game or something like that in the Browns-Ravens game. But no, I love that video. I think Corey said in the comments about how Rosengarten was like, asking Myles Garrett for his jersey and stuff. And I love that quote by Myles, and he was just kind of saying like, look, you going to playoffs, man. You're not a nobody anymore.
Like, you in this league, man.
You a player in this league now. Like you're not just a rookie anymore. Like you belong. You belong here. So I think that was coming from one of probably is gonna go down as the best pass rushers of all time. One of the best pass rushers of all time. That's I think says a lot going forward. So, but also I think it helps the Ravens going into the draft, in free agency. Like there were a lot of guys that stepped up that will maybe help make decisions a lot easier in free agency in the draft. And maybe we can let this guy go into the second year and be the guy. And I still think they got some concerns on the guard play. Still think they got to figure out some stuff there. But guys have stepped up big time for the Ravens. So, yeah, it's been a good, frustrating regular season, but as we get to Lamar, looks like he's maybe heading towards his MV3. He was just named first team All-Pro Of course, they released the All-Pro list of everybody that made the All-Pro roster. But now today, I think they released who first team and second team are. And Lamar made first team as the quarterback. So I guess thoughts on, does that being first team All-Pro at quarterback now solidify Lamar as the MVP at this point? Or do you still think it's up? It wouldn't shock anybody if Josh Allen wins the MVP. Because I think they go vote this Wednesday. I think coming up. I think the vote is on Wednesday. Would it shock anybody if they still give Josh Allen the MVP?
Would it shock anyone? I don't think it would shock anyone. I think the MVP was solidified. I mean, before the Browns game even started, honestly. I mean, and this is me. You know, obviously we're Ravens fans and we're biased and everything like that, but I just don't see how you can ignore historical numbers that you put up. And then this is the same guy that you've crowned MVP 2 times. That numbers were nowhere near close to the year that he's having now. And these numbers are better than the numbers of the guy that you're putting him up against. And is the same quarterback who beat this guy head up strong-handedly when they faced each other one-on-one in the regular season. So, you know, to Ravens fans, to us, to people who, you know, just know common sense and just can read stats or can watch TV on Sundays and see the games, I think it's been locked up. The reason why I'm not surprised if Josh wins it is obviously because, you know, voter fatigue is real. Just the fact that they've been trying to get him this award already for several years, and he hasn't gotten it. This is probably the best year he's had individually, personally for him. But it's the best year Lamar's had. So to me, you know, I just don't understand the arguments out there that say that Josh Allen deserves it more than Lamar, because I can't think of one reason why he does, whether you're looking at it on paper or whether you're turning on your TV. Because to me, if you're just going off of what you're seeing, because I do understand parts of the argument, not this argument, but I do understand MVP voters' argument when they say, when I turn on the TV, it just looks different. And I think that has a lot to do with some of Lamar's past MVPs as well. But in those years, you got to remember, there wasn't another player that was having the statistical year that Lamar is having next to him. So it's a lot different in your criteria and in your voting, because it's not like we had both of these scenarios. You had a scenario where one was clearly the best on television when you turn your TV on and watch him play. And then you had one that his stats were really, really good, but you don't see the same thing on film. That's how Lamar won his first two MVPs. But this one, he's better on TV. And if he's the same, then say that. Maybe he's the same when you watch him on TV next to Josh Allen. But the stats show clearly a different thing. So something has to be the tiebreaker there. And that's how, to me, it's just a clear thing. Would I be surprised? No. Will I be upset? Probably not. Because, like I said, we're chasing something more. It is what it is. But Lamar, not only does he deserve it, but he's earned it. He's earned it this year. He's won MVP 2 times, which I think he earned those as well. But he really, really earned it this year. And the proof is in the numbers. The proof is in the tape. And anybody who says otherwise, you know, we ain't got nothing in common. We can't, you know what I mean? It is what it is. Like, I got nothing for you. Like, there's no argument you can give me on Josh Allen. Go ahead, Trav.
Oh, sorry. I accidentally muted myself. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised because he's white. I think that's self-explanatory. They're always trying to crown the white MVP. But would I be angry? Hell yeah. And I don't got to explain why I traded. Lamar deserves it. There's nothing. And to be honest, Josh Allen wouldn't even be in my top 2 of who deserves it. I think it simply comes – he's not even in my top 3. If we really talk about who actually deserves MVP, it's 3 people: Lamar Jackson, Saquon Barkley, Joe Burrow. And I think that's what it comes down to. They've been trying to give Josh Allen his MVP since the preseason. All the talking heads, the topics in preseason was, is Josh Allen the front runner for the MVP this year? I remember specifically, first take, they were glazing Josh Allen all year. Dan Orlovsky he got exposed this week, right, for putting out false information in the MVP race to sway it in Josh Allen's favor. There's a concerted effort. This man does not deserve MVP. Let's not take a three passing touchdown, 3 rushing touchdown game and make a case for MVP because you still threw for September 30th. You threw for September 30th against the Colts, who are not in the playoffs, but one of the worst defenses in the league, and you threw 9 for 30. The man doesn't deserve MVP.
Texans game too. Texans game, he played horrible in that game. And look what we did to the Texans.
Look what we did to Josh Allen.
Facts.
So head to head, this guy doesn't deserve it. He's bailed out for the fact that, I mean, they didn't have the greatest division to play in. And they did get some good wins. So I'm not saying like Josh Allen is trash. He has had a great season. But MVP? No. It should go to Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson led this team. He was the driver of this team. The stats prove it. Second highest QB rating ever. Highest QBR this year. Best touchdown interception ratio ever. And he almost did 4,000, 1,000. He was close. I think if he tried to run more this year, he would have did 4,000, 1,000. Or if he would have played some more fourth quarters. So it should go to Lamar Jackson, but I would not be shocked if white privilege comes into play and they give Josh Allen the biggest MVP participation trophy ever. So
it's like they call it the Joel Embiid Award at that point.
The Joel Embiid MVP. Yep.
When he got it that year, and Nikola and Jokic went off in the playoffs. I think he averaged a triple double like every game in the playoffs. Like,
does anybody even remember that he won MVP last year?
No. And I'm close to Philly, and I forgot. You just reminded me.
Yeah, but no, it was I think also Mina Kimes made a great point, I think, last week. And they were talking about, this is before the Browns game, and talking about the MVP race. She was like, if that Bills-Ravens game happened around this part of the year, this wouldn't even be a discussion. Lamar will be MVP. But because it happened in week 3, everybody's like, that was ages ago. No one cares. She's like, if that happened in week 12, week 13, this is not even a discussion. Lamar's MVP. Like, it's not even close. But everybody likes to forget. They seem to only want to focus on a few games or a few games here and there and not focus on what happened earlier in the year. Like, look, Josh Allen and that, looking at the Ravens defense was at the beginning of the year, the Josh Allen, the Bills should have put up 30 plus points on the Ravens defense that game. They should have, and they didn't. The Ravens just ran roughshod over them in that game.
Mina Kimes also put out the stat, the DVOA stat, that as far as the defenses that Lamar has played versus the defense that Josh Allen has had to play, miles apart. Yeah. Lamar is first in that category as far as the DVOA, and Josh Allen was like 5th or something like that. So what are we talking about here?
Yeah. And then too, you look at the teams that just their own division. Look who had they played: the Patriots, the Dolphins, the Jets. The Ravens were in a situation where, had Sunday gone the Bengals' way, there would have been 3 teams from the AFC North in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Like, Josh Allen had a cakewalk through the AFC East, like Tom Brady has had for years. Like, those 20 years he was the AFC East. Josh Allen had a cakewalk through his own division. Like, Lamar played pretty much playoff caliber teams the entire time throughout this season. And then, like Ryan Clark said, like, I could understand. He's like, look, I can understand. We saw Derrick Henry get 1,900 yards rushing this year, but Lamar still almost had 1,000 yards rushing himself, on top of throwing 4,000. Mm-hmm. Like, he's like, that's insane. Like, I could, like, if you said, okay, Derrick Henry got 1,900 yards in Lamar and he ran for like 300, and then he had like 3,500 yards passing. Okay, then you're like, all right, give it to Josh Allen. But Lamar, when you're having the kind of year Lamar is having, I think that's even a bigger testament to what Lamar has been doing this year. Like you guys said, previous years, Lamar was clearly the best. When it looked like the MVP race, it was like, oh, it's Lamar. No one's even close. But here's Josh Allen having the best year of his career. And Lamar is still, it's not even like close. Like, miles better.
A whole tier higher than
Tier higher than him. The AP, I said, decided he's the best quarterback in the league. He's first team quarterback. Josh Allen's too.
And the argument that I keep hearing over and over from Josh Allen supporters in this MVP campaign is always bringing up the talent on his roster. And I'm here to tell you, like, why do you think the guys on the roster perform the way they perform? It's obviously because the QB is elevating their play. I don't remember a time where, Ravens offense was getting glazed for the amount of talent that we had on our team. Like, how long did it take for us to even find a number one receiver? And we're talking about a receiver who was just a rookie last year, in Zay Flowers, who's not even playing in this game. And then the likes of Isaiah Likely. You think Isaiah Likely can just go anywhere and do Isaiah Likely things? We don't know, but I mean, my guess is that Lamar makes him better. And you looking at a team in the Bills where, yes, their defense is a little banged up, but offensively, why do you keep never mentioning James Cook? Like, he has not he doesn't lead the entire NFL in touchdowns. I don't understand it. And a lot of those touchdowns come from him just getting handed the ball or getting a pass dumped off to him in a flat. Like, stop the cap. They have weapons on offense. Shakir has been making big third down catches all year long. James Cook has been scoring touchdowns all year long. Like, just cut it out. Dalton Kincaid. They got two. They had Dalton Knox and Kincaid on the same football field at the same time as in these games. What is the difference? I don't see the big disconnect between offensive, and we're talking about offensive talent. The Ravens' offensive talent, y'all weren't talking about us in these previous years as far as being a highly talented offense. Yes, we were a very efficient, good running offense who made plays in the play action game and this, that, and the third. But we talk about individual players. Get that argument out of here, because don't act like Rashad Bateman was just this superstar wide receiver we've had for all of these years. He's getting better this year because the game is being elevated with the play of Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is making these players household names. They haven't done this on their own. So stop the cap. And Mark Andrews is having a phenomenal year because Lamar Jackson is getting him the ball in space. They're not wide open because they're making themselves open. They're making themselves open because the scheme has been on point, and Lamar is throwing these guys open and putting them in spaces. It's the chemistry. It's everything. It's all those included, and it ties back to our quarterback. So stop the cap with your team your offense being more talented than their offense. It's just simply not true. The facts are Lamar Jackson is more talented than Josh Allen, and that just is what it is. And that's not a slight. It just is what it is. The proof is in the numbers. And yes, the biggest thing we have, Derrick Henry. We added Derrick Henry this offseason. Took him a while to get going, but now he's rolling. But let's not, him getting almost 2,000 yards this year, we didn't do it the way he typically gets 2,000 yards. We've been in shotgun. We've been in a lot of play action sets, Lamar has to do with a lot of that success as well, just based on how teams have the game plan for him. So I don't know if Derrick Henry goes to another team. I don't know if he goes to the Cowboys and have the season that he had with us. So I just say that to say this: stop the cat. Lamar Jackson's the MVP. It has nothing to do with the talent on both sides of the ball. Y'all just trying to throw any bone that y'all can to just make a reason for him to win this award. It is what it is.
Yeah. I'm just saying simply. I'm gonna be very brief. Who is a bigger threat to your defense, Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson? Because when you talked about elevating the people around you, these guys on the Ravens are able to have the success because of the threat of Lamar Jackson. Didn't Derrick Henry just have like a career low in yards per carry last year? Was Mark Andrews a top prospect in the draft?
Nope.
You talked about Rashad Bateman. Nelson Aguilar, he was forgotten about. He's had a bit of a career rejuvenation here. So these guys are able to have success because of the threat that Lamar poses. He's the reason they're able to get open. And he's also the reason why they're able to have these 50-50 catches, because the ball is being placed in the appropriate area. So, I mean, when you think about it, nobody's talking about that with Josh Allen. Lamar Jackson is clearly the biggest threat to your defense week in and week out. MVP. I mean, there's nothing else to say. The threat and the numbers should say it all about who should be MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Like Corey
So,
says,
that's all
he
I
said
got.
when it's all said and done, Lamar might have 10,000 yards rushing by the time he's done playing football.
What do you got? 6,000 right now?
Yeah. You might have 10,000 yards rushing.
10,000 yards rushing and 40,000 passing.
Man, he might have the most yards of any player of all time. Like when he's done, he might have the most, like of any all-purpose yards of any player. Like crazy, craziness. I'll say this: like if you want to submit the best plays, from what you think the MVP like trophy, like the one play that like you would put on that list. And I'm looking at that Bengals game where Lamar literally fumbles the ball at the line of scrimmage, picks it back up, runs backwards to the right, stiff arms Sam Hubbard twice, pushes him down, then throws it off his back foot to the back of the end zone where Isaiah likely catches it in the back of the end zone for a touchdown. I'm like, nobody else can do that. Like not even Josh Allen is best have I seen him do stuff like that. Not even. So it's like I said, if Lamar was just having if he had a year like he had last year, sure, Josh Allen's MVP. But you can't. It's hard to ignore the numbers. Like a lot of them, people say, "Oh, don't look at the stats. Look at the stats. Look at the stats." But even now, the stats are so glaring for Lamar at the end of the season. You can't ignore those. You just can't. You just can't. I mean, he breaks Michael Vick's all-time record for career rushing now, career rushing by a quarterback, and he's still within his prime. So that record's going to stand for a while, probably. Yeah. And he's still only getting better. So, and that's I think the one thing we've seen is looking Lamar. We look at these quarterbacks. Look at C.J. Stroud. You look at a few of these quarterbacks who've gone through some slumps and things like that. Bryce Young and them. Lamar has been getting better each year he's been playing. Like I don't even think Lamar had a slump per se. Maybe the COVID year, 2020, was kind of a slump a little. He got hurt, dealing with some stuff. But he's been getting better every year. A Ravens offense, I looked at the total Ravens offense since he's been playing, has been getting better. They've been increasing by 200 to 400 yards every single season Lamar has been playing.
It's crazy.
And the biggest addition that they made to that offense was Derrick Henry this season. They've been getting better with guys like Willie Snead.
And this was a different offensive coordinator almost every other year.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like Corey said, don't forget the Ravens defense, literally their entire defensive staff got taken away pretty much. We lost the assistant head coach and defensive line coach. We lost our defensive coordinator, like a secondary coach. Like the Ravens had to start from scratch from a lot of different places.
Right.
So I will say going into the playoffs, I think that why this does feel different for Lamar and the Ravens is now that guys have stepped up, including Derrick Henry and Bashar Bateman, the offensive line, the defense is getting takeaways now in these last few games. It doesn't feel like it's all on him anymore. It does now feel like I think that Steelers game proved it to me. When Lamar throws that pick to Minkah Fitzpatrick, I think we all thought, "Oh, here we go. We're gonna lose this football game." And then not the next play, but the play after that, Marlon gets a pick six. Game turns around. For the first time, for a long time, we've been saying Lamar's had to carry this team for the last 4 or 5 years. If they just pick up their weight a little bit, I'm not saying Lamar can't carry the weight, but if even they just pick up a little bit of weight, this team can go far. This team is to do whatever they want to do. Yeah. So, we all think MV3 over here, but again, wouldn't be shocked if Josh Allen gets it this year. We saw with the Browns, Deshaun Watson re-tore his Achilles today. So they said his 2025 season is now in doubt. What happens now with Deshaun Watson? He's now torn his Achilles twice in the last, 3 months?
And they said it was the same one, right?
Same one.
Yeah, I mean, I think what happens with him is I think what Browns fans are what they want to happen. I think obviously he's done. There's going to have to be some type of injury settlement, I'm assuming. It's going to be rather large based on his contract. But to my recollection, he just reworked his deal to open up, some space for them. So I'm not sure how they restructured it, whatever the case may be. But I don't know. I can't see them just putting him on ice for 2 seasons. I mean, it just doesn't. The risk of just waiting doesn't really seem to outweigh the reward. And you know, at this point, you might just want to put your energy in just looking into the future. And I'm sure it's probably just a new direction needed for all parties involved, and for him to rupture the same Achilles.
Yeah.
It doesn't really sound like it's a recoupable situation. Like, it just is what it is. I think at this point, you just figure out the finances to how to try to sever ways. As soon as possible, even if that means having to pay him for a few years while he's not in the building anymore. But I think his future is definitely, for sure, over in Cleveland. Now, if somehow they are able to kind of formulate a trade and there's some team that's just desperate, but we won't know that until next season. He's definitely not getting that money taken off the books in this season or this upcoming season. It'll have to be in 2026, which is at that point, we're entering the territory where you've been out the league for a couple of years. We saw what you put on tape the last time you were actually playing games. Too many things going against them. I just think it's time to move on, and financially, they just going to have to figure that part out. But that's what happens when you make bad investments.
Yeah, this guy's done. I mean, and good riddance. This is probably a guy, all things considered, that shouldn't even be in the league because he's a predator. But as far as Cleveland, like, what a mess you got yourself into, because now you got to figure out this cap situation. I think they'll have an out, but they gave up so much for Deshaun. You literally built up the Houston Texans as a playoff contender by trading
single-handedly.
Deshaun. Single-handedly. You made them the playoff contender. I mean, shout out to the coach, but the Cleveland Browns made the Texans who they are today. And it's just unfortunate because, it was a bad move from a PR standpoint, from a just organizational standpoint, and then from a football standpoint, because this is a guy that didn't play the year before. So you don't know where he is as far as his development. Could he have regressed during that time off? Is he truly that number one QB? You just didn't know, because he had those highs before everything went down. But he was still young. And we've seen a lot of QBs peak early in their career and then fall on their butts. So no pun intended with Deshaun with that. But you got a bad contract, you gave up a lot of picks, and you've really set this franchise back. And the thing that really, I think, hurts Cleveland is if they get rid of him, they get hit with all this dead money. It really is a sign that's going to point to them losing Myles Garrett. Like, the thing that's underrated is the Deshaun Watson situation has completely impacted the Myles Garrett situation. We know he's unhappy, and we know he's going to want more money because he's getting to that point where I think he can re-up again. But he's going to want out because there's no way to make this team better. There's no way to build around Myles Garrett. There's no way to get a QB. That's a sure thing. So overall, this is a sad situation. And Deshaun, I don't think he gets another chance. I mean, I can't say this without it being pun intended. When you're ass, when you're just straight ass with all of this baggage, with that contract, ain't nobody trading for you.
Yeah.
Even you get released, when you're this PR nightmare and your ass, nobody's going to pick him up. They're going to bring a young QB. So I think we've seen the last of Deshaun Watson as a starting quarterback in the NFL. I think he may get a shot on a practice squad and see what happens and he gets elevated, but I think it's over. It's over for him as a starting quarterback.
Yeah, and looking at the situation, like Nick Chubb also breaks his foot during the season, so he's coming off a broken leg and broken foot. So all your star players are pretty much either with Deshaun Watson not playing, just not playing well at all, not liked by the locker room. Myles Garrett wants out. Nick Chubb's future is in doubt, with him having these terrible lower leg injuries. If you're the Cleveland Browns fan base looking forward, like your best years were like a few years ago when you guys had Baker Mayfield, and so it may be y'all have to just blow it up and just start from scratch. You got to start over now. You have really no choice. You just have no choice now. So I guess they're hoping that maybe they can get in Deshaun Watson's ear and kind of convince him to retire or something, to find a way to get some of that money off the books a little bit. Because I think if they cut him now, it's like $100 million dead cap. It's something ridiculous, something crazy like dead cap. They cut him now. Like, I think if they wait at the end of next season, I think there's a way out. There's like a $30 or $40 million cap hit. But I don't know if they go to the NFL, try to find a way out. But again, I think when it felt like there was a concerted effort by a lot of the owners, don't sign him. No one signed him. Like, that was a concerted effort, it sounded like. And then the Browns, the family that owns the Browns, was like, yeah, we're going to sign Deshaun Watson to a guaranteed contract for the next 6 years. And I think the NFL is just like, we're going to let the Browns burn. But the NFL and the rest of the owners are like, we're not helping y'all. We're going to we're going to let the Browns burn. Literally, we're just going to let it burn down. And this is exactly what we're seeing right now with the Browns. With the firings that have happened coaching wise, we see obviously the biggest ones were Antonio Pierce being fired by the Raiders, and then Gerard Mayo being fired by the Patriots. They brought up a statistic showing like black coaches being hired versus white coaches, like after 1 year, how you get the percentage of them getting fired. And I think they said white coaches are typically 16%. 16%, I think over the last 20 years, 16% of white coaches have been fired the first year, while over 34% of the black coaches have been fired after 1 year. I've liked the discussion by a lot of the shows basically saying they felt it was unfair for Gerard Mayo, especially, to get fired after 1 year, considering everything that happened. You don't have a star quarterback. You literally have to draft Drake May this year to see what he has. And I don't even think they started him right away. Your defense is in shambles. A lot of guys have said, like, you need at least 3 years. You need at least 3 years to do something. I get a couple drafts, some free agency moves and stuff to see if this team is moving in the right direction, and then you can get away from it. But then the Robert Kraft stuff just kind of threw me, because he's like, I've known him for 17 years and all that, and it felt, and he hired him right away, like right after they let Belichick go. Gerard Mayo was like named almost immediately, like as the next head coach. It wasn't even like no interviews. Like he was the guy. So I think everybody assumed Gerard Mayo was going to be there at least for a considerable amount of time. So I think his firing came as a shock because of how much it felt like Kraft was definitely pushing for Gerard Mayo to be the head coach there. And then he fires him because it sounds like, oh, now Mike Vrabel's available, so I want Mike Vrabel here. But that doesn't really make sense to me, because Mike Vrabel was available last year after he got fired by the Titans. He was available then. If you wanted Mike Vrabel then, why didn't you hire him then? Don't give me we wanted Mayo and then fire him, and now you're going to go hire Vrabel a year later. It makes no sense to me. So again, and then I think Travis, you posted in the group, I think, about like Gerard Mayo's wife, apparently, like they're.
Yeah, that was me.
Oh, Trey talked.
Yeah.
They're talking about, she's saying that they're putting stuff out there about Gerard Mayo that's not true, and they're trying to slander his name and stuff. And it sounds like they're trying to prevent him from getting another coaching job somewhere. Like it's nasty. The guy that's been, a player in the organization and now a coach in the organization for a long time, and for whatever reason they're trying to slander him. Like, look, there's a reason why I think black coaches, especially who've been trying to get head coaching jobs in the NFL for years, why Flores filed the suit that he filed. There's a reason. But at the end of the day, these are old white men as owners. They have that. Look, at the end of the day, they have every right to hire who they want to hire, however bad it looks. It looks like nepotism. It looks like whatever. But until you start getting some more minority owners or something, this is what it's going to look like. They're going to hire who they want. At the end of the day, like there's nothing in the bylaws of the NFL saying they have to hire a black coach. There's nothing in the bylaws saying they have to. But until something changes at the top, until something changes at ownership level, when they start bringing in some more black ownership or guys that ownership groups who have more than 10% or 20% into the team and stuff like that, until that starts happening, this is what it's going to be. Unless you're like, a owner that's more forward thinking and, realizes that, guys that played the game might know a little bit how to coach a locker room, Mm-hmm. But until that happens to you guys like the Jerry Joneses, the Woody Johnsons, those guys, this is what it is. And I think Robert Saleh, Robert Saleh is the same situation. When we heard about that when he got fired, it sounded like Woody Johnson wasn't even sold on him. He wasn't sold on Robert Saleh because he was off being ambassador to Ireland or whatever it was while that was happening. And he looked at this for opportunity to get him up out of there. And it sounded like Aaron Rodgers was, trying to, keep him on the team. I don't know why we got rid of him. The defense when he was here was one of the top 5 defenses. And as soon as he left, we were bottom of the league when he left. So you have these owners, Jerry Jones, Woody Johnson, all the rest of them, making these emotional decisions and stuff about the team, don't know what they're doing. It sounds like they're making decisions based off Twitter and their grandkids. It's just there's no rhyme or reason to it at all. I understand more of the Pierce thing because I feel like Davis, the son, doesn't know what he's doing. The man has a bowl haircut. You can't trust a man like that. You can't trust a man to make decisions that has that kind of haircut. I'm sorry. So I think there's a reason like why Tom Brady's more involved now, with the team. I think he may be making more decisions. Like Davis will be the one, be the front and the center because he's the principal owner of the team. But I think that Tom Brady's like, step over here, man. Step over here. Let me kind of handle this a little bit. So, I know what you guys' thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have too many thoughts on it. I mean, you pretty much said it. Kind of the gist of what's actually happening. I mean, the stats that you read off with the percentages of, the white coaches versus the black coaches and retention rates and all of that. I mean, that kind of just tells you the story. I mean, it's not anything new. It's something that we've gone through. I mean, we've seen with the Flores situation and other situations in the league's past. But Gerard Mayo, I mean, is he a good coach? I don't know. We don't know. We didn't have enough time to find out what he's really made of. And, it's just kind of like just how it's been like, just not having the opportunity to build a team. I mean, it's just, when you go to, let's say, for example, a college team, I mean, it's the same way. Like you have to recruit. Your number one thing is to come in there and recruit and to change the energy in the building. I mean, that's almost never done immediately. I mean, Dion couldn't win a championship in one singular year, but in NFL, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, yes, you get the job, but at the same time, it's like the way you get it handed to you is not the way it was left. When the presidency switches, I mean, Trump is inheriting administration one way, and we don't know how it's going to end up, probably in another 4 years, but even he gets 4 years to figure it out again. When Obama got his administration handed to him in shambles, he had a lot of work to do, and people forget about what he had to do to switch things over. So it's the same thing in the league. Like, there's nothing getting done ever in one singular season with a new head coach. You're literally changing the culture of your entire football team. You're changing how your team functions. You're changing how your team looks. You're changing literally everything in there, and it's just impossible to get done. So when these type of firings happen, my question turns to what was the motive of putting them there in the first place, outside of just not having anybody else at the time, because the expectations can't be that you're going to a Super Bowl this year. The expectations can't be that you're about to compete with Josh Allen and Tyreek Hill and all those teams, with superstar players who, are there and are established. It's not like you're adding a piece to your team. The head coach is the nucleus of the football team, and your team is going to be a reflection of that. And when you just get hired to a job and you haven't had time to make any decisions, and you're just rocking with who you got because you have to figure things out one, and then two, you have to figure out a way to reshape the offense. That only happens in the off season. There's not anything you can do presently in season in one singular season, and you might need several off seasons to do it, like you said. But to me, that's the job of the execs during the interview process. Get what the 2-year plan is, what the 1 year, 2 year, 3-year plan is, 4-year, 5-year plan is from the head coach, and you go from there. I mean, I can't imagine a coach is going to go in an interview and say in 1 year we're going to be in a Super Bowl. Like it just doesn't happen that way. So, it doesn't seem fair what we see. We all seen the Patriots. Nobody this season expected the Patriots to be more than what they were. So I don't see what the firing for that is from. The Raiders thing, Pierce came in and he kind of galvanized the team when he, coming in as an interim head coach was that last season. And he kind of galvanized that team, and the culture obviously improved. Now, obviously, the culture is not the one thing that you have to be good at as a coach. It's improving culture. It also comes with, making hard decisions, making difficult decisions, and also making decisions that's going to make you a better football team, whether it's like schematically, offensively, defensively, whatever. That matters as well. And he had, a little bit more time because he's at least been with the organization a little bit longer. But yeah, you can't just, it's not plug and play. Pause. You can't just take out one head coach and then put another one in that position and expect them to win a Super Bowl immediately. It just doesn't work like that. So it doesn't seem fair. And if this coach was of a different skin tone, different race, we've seen it go the other way, and they've had plenty of opportunities to the point where it's like, why does this person still have a job? But it is what it is. You can see right there, and Travis is holding up. If you know your colors, you can see that is completely bleach white. So yeah, that's my take. It is what it is, man. It ain't nothing new. Just another year of more of the same.
Another year of more unfair firings for black coaches. Because Antonio Pierce. So, yeah, I don't understand it. I want to know what the truth is. I need the tea to come out. That's where I'm at, because it doesn't make sense. There's nothing about the situation where I can't bring it back to race, and that's how illogical this decision to fire Gerard Mayo, Antonio Pierce was. More so Gerard Mayo, but I just can't pinpoint why. It just screams unfairness. I think Stevie Wonder could see that this is unfair. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. They didn't draft well, as a whole for what they need to win now. They didn't go out and get people in free agency that can help them win now. So what was really the expectation? I can tell you for the Patriots, they picked their coach weeks ago. They wanted to bring that white man right back in. They were like, look, can nobody lead the Patriots, a American team that represents America, more than a white man? That's what Robert Kraft thinks. Don't let him buddying up with Meek Mill fool you. There's a lot of racism inside that white man, and he wanted to bring in one of his white brethren in to lead the Patriots, and it's unfair. Mike Vrabel is not a winning coach, and the bigger conversation, which I know we don't have time for right now, is why white coaches keep getting the same opportunities after mediocre stints. Mike Vrabel, he was mediocre. Steve, what's his name for Texas? Steve Sarkisian. They're looking at him for NFL jobs. This is his first time really winning as a head coach in college, and he's automatically in the running for head coaching jobs in the NFL. Lane Kiffin, Josh McDaniels. There's so many instances of this happening. John Gruden is a hot commodity after his whole meltdown a couple years ago. So I just don't know. all I can point it back to is racism, and the NFL owners' penchant for a lack of diversity. That's it.
Numbers don't lie.
Yeah, man. And then you just look at especially Antonio Pierce. He didn't get a fair shake at it at all. Look at the quarterbacks he had: Aiden O'Connell, Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, you didn't even allow him to pick his quarterback. He didn't get really a chance at it at all. So it's one of those situations where I think it was brought up on one of the shows, or well, it's such a bad job. Then why did the black coaches take the jobs? Like, well, there's only a handful of them that come available a year.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where if you don't try to interview for the job, they're not going to interview anybody. So it's like it's sad, but it's like black coaches are kind of like carrying the entire group on their back when they do go get these jobs. Like, even if they know they're going to get fired after a year, because they know, like, hey, if we're not going to interview for these jobs, they're not going to interview us. Because the NFL will just come back, see, we tried the Rooney Rule thing, but no one wanted to interview for our head coaching jobs, so they have to. They gotta go through the circus, and they gotta go through all that stuff just to keep hope alive that some owner will be forward thinking enough to, hey, give this guy a shot. To get this guy who was the locker room leader or a captain or whatever, who knows football. Let's give him a chance to coach football. Let's give him a shot. See what he got. Yeah, I'm tired of and the Jets over here trying to interview Rex Ryan. Like, Rex Ryan, what's the last time Rex Ryan was a head coach? 2010, 2011?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Like, really, it's been over a decade. Like,
anybody who watches him on these daytime television shows should know that you probably shouldn't bring him in for an interview.
No.
I mean,
no.
He's giving some crazy takes.
Look, and I love Rex Ryan. Look, he's a great defensive coordinator for the Ravens. I love Rex Ryan, but he's
not a head coach.
Head coach, yeah.
No. And I just, again, there's a reason why a lot of these guys are talking heads on TV shows for the last 10 years, but they're still getting interviews, which is crazy to me. Like, there's nobody else qualified in the NFL.
The Colts brought in Jeff Saturday that year.
Right? Yeah, Jeff Saturday. He coached for no coaching experience, none.
Mm-hmm.
Just a likable guy, I suppose.
None.
Mm-hmm.
None. So again, it's just, you got to throw up your hands sometimes. You see some very qualified guys that play, Aaron Glenn, especially in Detroit right now. But what he's doing with that Detroit defense, considering they've had 13 or 14 guys on IR, and he's been doing a phenomenal job. But I guarantee he doesn't get a head coaching job this year. Guarantee he doesn't.
Ben Johnson will, though.
Ben Johnson will, because he's calling trick plays for tackles and stuff. So he'll definitely get a head coaching job. But before we move on to the next, before we get into the wild card preview and stuff, I think we have to really, owners really have to look at the fact that just because somebody can call plays doesn't mean they're a good head coach. Yeah. It's a very different job. It's one thing to call plays and to coordinate a unit, but to get the entire team together and to create a culture of winning and all that other stuff and being game manager, that's a very, very different job. But not everybody's qualified to be a coach, and that's fine. There are a lot of guys that realize later on, like, you know what, I tried that coach thing, it wasn't working, didn't work out. I'm gonna spend the rest of their life as a coordinator. Make good money. It's not for everybody. So let's get on the wild card weekend preview. So obviously big games. We'll get to the Ravens one last, but first up on Saturday, Chargers versus the Texans. There has been a lot of talk about this game, mainly because not a lot of stars are pretty much hurt in this game. CJ Stroud hasn't had a good year. Justin Herbert and the Chargers had a great year in their terms, new head coach, Jim Harbaugh coming back in. They make the playoffs. The AFC West sent 3 teams to the playoffs this year. It was wild. I didn't expect that. Did not expect that at all. But based on how things look, I know they're playing in Houston right now, but it just feels like this Houston team this year is just not it. It's just not there this year, and it's sad to say. I was hoping CJ Stroud would make that next step this year. I'm not saying Herbert's had a better year, but guys like Ladd McConkey in San Diego has been balling right now. Like, he's been balling right now. Those guys from Georgia, Brock Bowers and Lad McConkey, have been phenomenal for their rookie years.
Yeah.
So all coached by Todd Monken. So I mentioned that. All coached by Todd Monken. I just think, look, I like D'Amico Ryans there in Houston, but the injuries that they've suffered, but the setbacks they've had on defense, I know they're playing at home, but I'll just say this from watching the games in Houston, even playoff games in Houston, they don't have the same home field advantage aura that a Buffalo Bills or Ravens or Steelers kind of, arenas have. And Texans just don't carry that for me. And I feel like, Jim Harbaugh being the more experienced head coach, having been to a Super Bowl before, he's been through this before, won a national title in college. He obviously went to the Super Bowl with the 49ers years before that. I think that just comes down to Jim Harbaugh. They're rolling right now. The Chargers are solid right now, while the Texans are just kind of, I think they're sputtering along at this point.
Yeah, I think I got the Chargers in this game. It's timing for the Texans just has been not good. I mean, they've been kind of reeling towards the end of this year. They lost Tank Dell. CJ Stroud seems to be regressing week to week. He's missing a lot of easy throws that we've seen him make time and time again. I'm not sure what's going on with this slump, but he's definitely in one. And it just happens to be Justin Herbert. He's peaking at the right time. I mean, he's starting to have an incredible year. Like you said, McConkey has been helping him out. I think Disley might be back as tight end, so he has, another weapon to add to the mix. And, JK hasn't looked, terrible back there. He's been doing enough. I think Gus Edwards might return in this game. I'm not sure if they'll have that depth there. But the Chargers just look a lot better in recent games. In recent weeks, they've just been playing a lot better football. Herbert's been throwing like 3 or 4 touchdowns a week. And CJ Stroud's just been doing the opposite. I mean, it's really simple as that. Really not too much to break down. Herbert's just having a way, way better end of the season. And Stroud, it just kind of seems like it's going downhill for him and that team. Hopefully it's still a good game because, that's what we all want in the playoffs. But, I got the Chargers in this one.
Yeah, I'm with you. There's opportunity for this game not to be close. I think CJ Stroud is a shell of himself. He looks so skittish in the pocket. It's very Kyle Bowler-ish, the way he looks in the pocket. Like he is just frightened back there. And I think one of the biggest things, just from a coaching standpoint, is they got away from what made them successful early on in the season. And that's Joe Mixon.
Mm-hmm.
The usage for Joe Mixon has gone down tremendously, and I think you've seen this team go down as Joe Mixon's touches have gone down. I don't see much of them. I mean, Stephon Diggs out, Tank Dell out. The defense is struggling. CJ Stroud is struggling. I don't think this is close. And despite Greg Roman, you're seeing the Chargers play well, both sides of the ball, except when they played the Ravens. But I think this isn't a close game. I think Chargers take it.
And don't forget, they got the X Factor now. They got Ezekiel Elliott now. They got the guy that's going to take them to a Super Bowl. They just signed Zeke Elliott, as their backup running back.
He might run for 20 yards this game.
Next one, well, not us, obviously, for the 8:00 game, but Sunday, Broncos versus Bills. Obviously, going into Buffalo, going into Orchard Park at 1:00. I think it's one of those games that's going to look close early, but by the time they get to the end of the third quarter, Bills kind of pull away. Just for the simple fact that Bo Nix is a rookie quarterback. They don't really have a reliable running game right now that they rely on. Bo Nix has been playing really good. He's been playing, I think, better than expected. A lot of us have expected him to play at this point. Sean Payton being there, being a playoff caliber coach, does give them a little bit. I think of evening it out against Sean McDermott on the other side for the Bills, but I think quarterback play is definitely paramount here. Like, it's just like you guys were saying, James Cook's been running phenomenal there with Buffalo. You got Khalil Shakir, Mac Hollins. You got the 2 tight ends. The Bills, and they're at home. Usually the Bills usually on that first weekend, whatever it's a divisional game or a wild card game in Buffalo, they tend to blow out the teams they play those games at home. So I think this game was close for a little bit, but after a while, I think that the rookie quarterback stuff sets in for Bo Nix, and the moment, like the moment itself, how big the moment is kind of, it's a little too big for Bo Nix. Pause. And just kind of like, he'll be ready. They'll be good. I think they have a good stepping stone for next season, but I think the Bills just cruise to the AFC divisional game after this.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think honestly, I think the Bills are on upset alert in this game.
Oh, okay.
And I'm putting that partly because I just think the Bills have a super solid defense over there, and not that they played their best football, but I think that's the thing. I think with this being in the playoff atmosphere, I know they'll be in Bills country and all of that, but I just think that it might be a Patrick Surtain game. I mean, Josh Allen, he's having an incredible year, but obviously, we're in a postseason now. You got to throw all that out the window, and he got to do all that stuff that y'all claim that he does in the postseason. And I wouldn't be surprised if they pick him off a couple of times in this game. I think they have a shot. We've seen flashes in Bo Nix. Obviously, he doesn't have the experience, but I don't put it behind him. I don't put it behind him. I have the Broncos on upset alert. I think they're going to somehow figure out a way to win that game. This is also the same Broncos team who did they beat the Chiefs or almost beat the Chiefs? Can't remember earlier in the year.
No, they lost by like a field goal.
Came down to that field goal attempt. Like they can have these teams, and as long as they keep certain key guys in check, I'm not crowning the Bills in this game yet. So I actually got the Broncos actually going for the upset. I mean, I think the run game is going to be fine. Bills don't have anything scary on that defense, and I don't think it's going to be a cake. I don't think it's going to be the cakewalk that people are thinking. So I think Bo Nix is going to have a good game in this one.
I think it's close early. Bills win late. I think Bills win by like 10 points. But I think it's going to be close early. But I think, what it always comes down to in these playoff games, especially with rookies, is their ability to handle the pressure, especially when things aren't going right. I think there'll be a slow start for both teams, but I think, the Bills' experience, and honestly, and no shade to Josh Allen, but I think James Cook is going to run all over that defense. I think they're going to use him. It's going to be a big dose of James Cook in this game. And I think that's what's going to a lot of Bills win by double digits. Like I said, I don't think the score is going to indicate how close this game will be, but I think come second half, the Bills are going to pull away. I just think they have the opposite of what the media says. They have weapons, and they have guys they can pull levers on both sides of the ball and really put some pressure on Bo Nix. And Bo Nix has had a he's had a really good rookie season, but it's a different ball game in the playoffs, and I just don't know. I just don't know if the Broncos will put it all together for this game. So we'll see, because it has to be played on the field, but I definitely got the Bills here.
All right, next game, Packers at Philly on Sunday at 4:30 p.m. Christian Watson's out, obviously. Jordan Love is dealing with was it a hand or an elbow, something going on with his hand right now. I just say that because they're playing in Philly, Saquon is having obviously a career year this year. They just have too much there in Philly. I think the Packers team is a good scrappy team. You saw how they played against the Cowboys last year in the playoffs, but I just think in Philly right now with the defense that they have, they do have a good look. They got Josh Jacobs there, but I just don't. I don't know if I trust Jordan Love against that Philly. I don't think this is going to be one of those games that's going to be high scoring. I think it's one of those games where it's just going to be a Saquon show kind of thing. Jalen's going to run for a lot of yards. I think he'll have close to like 70, 80 yards rushing himself. And this will be one of those games where it'll be determined that because of Jordan Love's hand situation. I just don't know if the Packers, and with Watson being out, I just don't know if they'll be able to just push the ball down the field. I just don't. So I think it's one of those grinded out games, and the Eagles dominate time possession.
Yeah, I got the Eagles winning this one. I don't think I think it might be a close game, only because it'll be Jalen Hurts' first game back. He might have a little rust there. Who knows? But that might be the reason it stays close. But it's still Saquon Barkley. He's the best back in the league. He's going to get his numbers. He's going to get his yards, and Jalen's going to be able to play off of that. And that Eagles defense is really the number one reason. I mean, that defensive line is ferocious. The secondary has been playing better, and just all around. I mean, I just don't see, the Packers offensively being able to manhandle them the way they've done other teams in the trenches. The Packers do have Josh Jacobs, who has been playing out of his mind as of late. But a lot of that hasn't been against inferior teams. I just don't see the same result up against his Eagles defense. So I got the Eagles taking this one. They'll probably win by at least 10 points, I would say.
Yeah, same sentiments here. But I think Jordan Love, I put him in a CJ Stroud category where he has regressed this year. There's games where I look at him and he's a shell of the QB that made the Packers look like contenders at the end of last year. So I think he's going to struggle against this Eagles defense. They're so improved this year. They're basically been the best defense in NFL throughout the year. And I think they're going to make things real uncomfortable for Jordan Love. I think he's going to turn the ball over a couple times. And I think they're going to find themselves in a position where Josh Jacobs is a non-factor in this game. I think they're going to get up early. They're going to force the Packers to throw the ball, and I think that's going to be their demise. So I got Eagles double digits.
All right, next one. Commanders Buccaneers. This is probably one of the more intriguing games just because of the teams playing. Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans and Rashad White and Bucky Irving. Commander side, you got Brian Robinson Jr., you got Terry McLaurin, you got Dayton Daniels, rookie, probably rookie of the year. And that it's not necessarily a great defense with the Commanders, but they have their moments. You know what I'm saying? They do get takeaways from time to time. Like, you can score on them, but they do get takeaways from time to time. The fact that it's in Tampa Bay, like, I think the games that Jayden has had or that made the huge comebacks, they've all been at home. Like, just playing in Tampa Bay, being a rookie against Baker Mayfield, who's been in these kind of tough situations before, winning the division the last game of the week, last game of the season, and he's been in a situation now with the Buccaneers now 2 years in a row. Remember, was it last year they beat the Eagles in the wild card round? I think they beat the Eagles, the Buccaneers. I think it was last year.
Can't remember.
They beat the Eagles in the wild card round. So they know how to they know how to do this. Mike Evans, obviously. I don't know if the Commanders have an answer for Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield. Let's throw to him, and then with the emergence of McMillan now with the Buccaneers too. They have a dual threat there as well. I think it's a tight game. I think this is probably one of the more competitive games of the weekend, outside of probably the Ravens Steelers one, just because of Baker is a gunslinger. He will make mistakes. He can make mistakes. And I think that because the Commanders have been pretty good at getting takeaways as of late, they'll get some opportunities. But I just think that as good as Jayden has played, he has made mistakes too. And I think the more experienced team here, the Buccaneers, just kind of make their way to the divisional round. I think it's a tight game. I think it's at the end. I think they win by they'll probably win by 6 points.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that. I think it'll be a good game. I just think that the Buccaneers kind of have too much firepower for them. for Washington. Baker's been playing really, really good. I mean, he'll give you your occasional pick or two, but if he does that, that means he's thrown 4 touchdowns. So between him and how on point he's been with Mike Evans and the rest of that offense, and that running game is just elite. Like, they just run the ball. They have multiple backs that are all capable of whoever night it is, that's who night is going to be. But between Bucky Irvin, Rashad White, and I think they have another back as well. I'm not sure if they're all healthy, but I know at least Bucky Irvin, we know what he can do alone. And I just think that's just going to be kind of too much firepower on their offense for Washington to handle. And Washington's offense, even though whether they're winning games or not down the stretch, they have not looked as impressive to me as they've looked previously. Jaden Daniels is still doing his thing, but I just don't see him overcoming those weapons. And the league should take note, man. I mean, if you let this Bucs team pass that round, they're going to be a formidable opponent for whoever it's going to be, whether it's Detroit, Minnesota, whoever. So we'll see. But I got the Bucs.
I'm not bullish on the Bucs. I've seen them struggle so much, offensively too at times. I'm just not bullish on them. Baker's had a great season, but we've seen the Bucs struggle in games against inferior opponents, and almost lose. They almost just lost to the Saints. So I'm not fully bullish on them. I am riding with my man Jaden and the Commanders, the Skins, whatever they want to be. I'm riding with them. They play big games. They've made big plays. And I think this is going to be Jaden Daniels' coming out party. Pause. I think he's going to really show out in this game. And there's like magic around this kid. Like, he just makes things happen when you think things can't happen. I mean, I'm not trying to compare him to Lamar, but one thing they say, man, black people are magical, and so are the black QBs. So I think Jaden's going to have a good game. I think their ability to distribute the ball. I think Scary Terry. I think defensively they're going to get some picks. I know Baker Mayfield is going to turn the ball over, and I think there's a lot of time wasted early on in Bucs games where they don't jump out in front early, and they do a lot of great things in the second half. But I think come playoff time, you can't play like that. So I think this is going to be the Redskins, but not the Redskins, the Commanders. But I do think it'll be a close game. But you're going to see Jaden Daniels pull this out.
Hey, yo.
On to the next game.
The dog said pause. You heard
that? Monday Night Football, the Vikings are playing the LA Rams. And obviously, with the fires happening in LA right now, they cannot play any football. They're in SoFi right now. So they're moving to Scottsdale or Glendale, I think. Glendale, Arizona. They're going to play at that neutral site for that game. Vikings going against the Rams. I think after watching the Vikings after that Lions game, I think everybody they were building that last game up for the last 3 weeks. Of this game was going to be like one of the best games you've seen all season, and it was the Detroit Lions just completely just dog walking the Minnesota Vikings. They did the Detroit Lions could not do anything on offense. Could do nothing. They couldn't protect Sam Darnold at all. Receivers couldn't get open. The Detroit Lions guys were getting hurt during the game, and still were the wide receivers for the Vikings couldn't really do much of anything. Sam Darnold looked like Sam Darnold of old. He was throwing like he was seeing ghosts. He wasn't confident in what he was doing. And now the thing is for Minnesota, you don't want to play the Rams right now with everything going on in LA. Like, they got something to play for. Like, it wasn't already playing for themselves and trying to get to another Super Bowl, but now they're playing for LA because LA is going through this right now. So they know friends and family and other people back home and the fans that they have need something to kind of take their minds off of this for a little bit. So they got they got people back home who maybe they have already probably have bought tickets for this game, maybe going to Arizona, probably had their house burned down. House are probably gone. And they're gonna probably still go to this football game because they need something to kind of just latch onto hope wise to get through this. So the Rams are carrying not only themselves but the entire city of Los Angeles. They, normally any team does during the playoffs. But when you have that extra thing to work for, that extra thing to carry you through, especially we look at like Matthew Stafford. We already know his record. His resume is he's going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. But now you got Puka Nacua, who's healthy. You got Cooper Kupp, who's healthy. The running back they got, I can't remember the name right now. Henderson? Not Henderson.
No.
Williams, Kyron Williams.
Kyron Williams,
he's been balling out all year, and I just don't think they have an answer for the Rams right now. I just think they're an emotional team coming in right now with and they're going to be just focused on obviously the task at hand. And I just don't. I think the Vikings, that residual effect of losing to the Detroit Lions, the way they lost to Detroit, it carries a lot of weight. I know we were 14 wins. I know we won 14 games going into the playoffs, but we did not look like we belonged on the field last week with Detroit. We did not look like we belonged on the field that week. I think that game. I think the Rams get up by like 3 scores, and I think it stays that way for the entire game. I think it gets close for the Vikings.
For me, actually, this game, we haven't gotten to the Pookies yet, Pookies and Bells, but my Pookie for the day is actually plays for the Vikings, and even with that being said, I still got them winning this game. I mean, I know what's happening in LA and the motivation behind it, but they're not playing that game in LA. And Rams ain't got the best fans in the world. I mean, I question how many fans are actually traveling for this game up in Arizona. That site's going to be more neutral than what LA would like, I'm sure. And on top of that, as good and as healthy as the Rams are now, I haven't seen them dominate too many football games. I mean, to say the least, it seems like they're fighting for their lives most weeks. I mean, they might have put on a couple of displays that have been noteworthy, but on paper, it looks like they should do work. I mean, you can't deny what Puka Nacua has done this season. You can't deny Cooper Kupp. They haven't even used Cooper Kupp in all of these games. That's how good Puka Nacua has been. But Matt Stafford, once again, he's going to be put up to the test just to see what he can make. And a lot of those games I was watching closely because I had fantasy football implications. So a lot of these Rams games I was locked in on, and Matt Stafford, a lot of their success was coming from some haymakers. Some of them were timed throws, good throws, but a lot of it was a result of bad defense as well. And with Sam Darnold and the Vikings, Sam Darnold played an awful game this last week to go for that 1 seed. He just played a terrible, terrible game. I just don't think he can put that bad of a performance on twice in a row. Just because I haven't really seen him do that this season, just put back-to-back terrible performances together. And I think if he only plays a little bit better than that bad performance he had, I think that might be enough to get it done. The Vikings, they still got Justin Jefferson on that team. The ball don't have to be super perfect to get him going. Jordan Addison, they got, Aaron Jones in the backfield. Like, they still have their playmakers. Just like the Rams have their playmakers. I just don't know if it's the Rams' year. They look good, but the Vikings have, outside of this last game, the Vikings have been a hotter team. If the Vikings were playing Detroit, my answer is probably different, but they're not. They're playing the Rams, and the Rams, really, as good as they look, I don't think they're as scary in this particular game being played in a neutral site, or I wouldn't say neutral because I guess it's closer to LA, but still, I got Minnesota in this one, and I think it will be a good game. But I think the performance that Sam Darnold had, I don't think that will be allowable by Justin Jefferson. I'm sure he was all over him in practice as far as making sure that doesn't happen again, because there were times where he was open and he was just missing throws. So Minnesota.
The Rams did beat Minnesota this year.
That's fine.
The Rams have won a lot of games over the second half of the season.
That's true. That's true.
But I got the Vikings. I got the Vikings. I think you hit on a lot of the points I was going to bring to the table. I think what we've seen this year with Sam Darnold is when he has one of these awful games, he's bounced back in a major way. This offense has bounced back in a major way. And I think Kevin O'Connell, he is my coach of the year. I think he's done an awesome job with this team. I think they're going to be ready for this game. I think the move of the home field is a major factor. And I don't trust Matt Stafford. He had that 1-year Super Bowl run, but I don't trust him. I really don't. He's a stat gobbler. Pause if that's a pause. But I just don't trust him in these moments. I think he's gonna look. My theme of this week is that guy's gonna turn the ball over, and I think Matt Stafford's gonna turn the ball over twice. I think it will be a close game though. I think it'll be closer than their records would say. But I think Minnesota is going to win this. I think they win by anywhere between 7 to 10 points, but it's going to be a close game throughout. I think the weapons Minnesota has Jordan Addison, Jordan Jefferson, Aaron Jones, Josh Oliver, and TJ Hawkinson on that offense. And Cam Akers is a backup running back. Cam Akers from the Rams. So I think, it comes down in the playoffs to making plays. And I think Minnesota has more guys that will make plays than the Rams. And that's saying something because the Rams have Puka and Kupp. But outside of that, I don't think this is going to be a game where Kyron Williams is going to go off. I think it's going to come down to QB play. And I think I trust Minnesota's QB more than I trust Los Angeles. And I can't believe I'm saying that in 2025. So
yeah, never did you. If you told me 4 years ago, I'm going to trust Sam Darnold more than I trust Matthew Stafford. It's wild.
Yeah.
But all right, let's move on to the game. Obviously, we all want to talk about Ravens versus Steelers, Part 3. So, injury report right now looks pretty clean. Obviously, Zay Flowers is not playing. Kyle Hamilton did have, a knee or some situation, I think, in that last game, but he's been a full participant. Justice Hill was a full participant, and this is of Wednesday, so Thursday hasn't come out yet. What's today? Friday.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, so they didn't. I think Justice Hill's gonna play for the most. He's gonna play. But according to the Steelers one, it didn't look like Boswell. Obviously, he's been dealing with some kind of illness. But everybody else, like Holcomb, I think is out, the linebacker. Logan Lee is the tackle, and Roman Wilson. But everybody else is Roman. They're out, but everybody else is playing.
And he got a lineman playing with a broken hand or something, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Mason McCormick. Yeah, he's been limited, obviously questionable, but yeah, he's been dealing with his situation. So obviously, the Ravens losing Zay is, we don't want to lose Zay, obviously, but I was wanting to pull up this. They're pulling up the statistic here about not trying to limit Zay's impact, but with how the offense has been operating this season. They said the Ravens are 6-0 when Flowers is under 35 yards this season. He scored 28 plus in every game too. He didn't break 15 yards in 3 of those games. So it's not your traditional offense. We basically have seen like the Ravens don't need necessarily outside of Lamar Jackson. They don't necessarily need anybody like we got to have this outside of him and Derrick Henry. Don't need really anybody else in the receiving part to go off. Like they can rely on. We can have Mark Andrews Day. We can have a Bateman Day, a Zay Day. We can have a Likely Day, whatever. We can have a Tyler Wallace Day. The Ravens offense, the way this team operates now, totally relies on just kind of the scheme and whoever is open. Whoever gets the ball that day. Because we've seen games, during the season where, like they just mentioned, where Zay's had like only a couple catches for 30 yards. That's it, and he was still a Pro Bowl wide receiver this year. So it just goes to show how the offense has has evolved and how it's grown. And now you got Kolar back, who obviously I think had to deal with a broken arm or something like I think elbow he had to deal with earlier. So he's back. You got Justice Hill back as well. Keaton Mitchell now. So with Zay out, I see more in this game. Utilizing some more of that screenplay with you got Keaton and Justice. You now can utilize with that speed aspect, doing the screenplays you can use there. It's going to be a cold game. Obviously, I think they'll be just coming off. I think we're getting another 1 to 3 inches of snow or sleet, during the early morning. But by the time the game is played, because 8:00 game, that'll probably be clear and stuff. They'll have a tarp on the field, I'm pretty sure. But it's going to be cold. It's going to be a cold game. So anticipate for this one. There's not going to be a lot of airing it out in general. This is going to be a lot of plays in the middle of the field. That Steelers defense is weak in the middle of the field. Obviously, with Patrick Queen right there, the Ravens have run the ball well with Derrick Henry, and I just anticipate I would assume with you think about basically 4 backs running the ball. You got Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Keaton Mitchell, and Justice Hill. I think all of them can combine for over 200 yards rushing in this football game. I think that's what it's going to be. I anticipate Russell Wilson continuing to play his bad play. He's been turning the ball over a lot, making bonehead plays, just doing stuff that he normally shouldn't be doing. I said when they got Russell Wilson that Russ he was a deep ball thrower. He wasn't a guy that threw short or intermediate passes. If he couldn't throw 50 yards down the field, it wasn't happening. And the Ravens have been doing a really good job of getting pressure. Russ is not Russ of old where he could scramble out of the pocket and get 5 yards. He's not that guy anymore. He doesn't move that well anymore. So the Ravens have done a really good job containing him, making him throw the deep passes down the middle of the field. And now with Kyle Hamilton back there, we as fans especially feel a lot more secure about that part of the field being covered. Obviously, George Pickens is back, but coming off that game he just had last week where he had 3 or 4 drops. He was yelling at the fans, and he's having a mental break right now. It seems like as well. They already said, they can't really count on him. It seems like week to week now. But that obviously still is a threat. They know if they can get a few of those plays down the field with George Pickens, that can turn the game around. But the way with Tre'Davious White's been playing with Kyle Hamilton, with Ardarius Washington, the way the Ravens line is Calvin Noy and Oweh and them have been getting pressure on the quarterback now. I think it's going to be prevalent on the Ravens. Don't do a wait around and see kind of phase where they do a couple drives and let's just see what they're doing. No, go out and score. Go score. I also think a key in this game for the Ravens, the big key for this Ravens game is special teams. Special teams, and not just Justin Tucker, because they're gonna be games, the points in this game where they're gonna have to punt the football. No shank punts. You cannot give the Steelers short fields in this game. Okay, they need to have 50-yard, 60-yard punts, coffin corner, or pin them back at the 5-yard line. Making sure they cover well, not letting Calvin Austin or whoever get the ball and getting good yardage there as well. So they got to play sound special teams play, just doing that. I'll also see they're probably going to use Justin Fields in this game. This is a one and done game for everybody, right? I anticipate Justin Fields is going to be on the field a few times. The Ravens, in the last time they played Justin Fields, didn't handle that so well. I would hope that they have gone through some simulations in practice and seen the film hey, this is what they did last time on these 3rd and 2s and 3rd and 1s or 4th and 1s, and they bring Justin Fields onto the field. Okay, they got to lock that up. I don't want to see any splash plays from Justin Fields in this game. They got to lock that up. And also, let's remember in this past game, the Ravens had 3 fumbles of their own, but they recovered all their fumbles. Okay, Bulk, they got to be able to don't have any scares like that in this game. They have to be super secure with the football this week. Super secure because you don't know if it's going to bounce your way this week. So that's going to be the key for me for the Ravens. I know what the offense is going to do, but special teams has to show up. Justin Tucker is going to probably be asked to go out there and kick a couple field goals. And that defense has to make sure when they have an opportunity to get off the field on 3rd down, get off the field. Don't let this offense have opportunities where George Pickens and them could beat you deep down the field and set up them, scoring plays in this game.
Yeah, all solid points there. Can't disagree with much as you said there. Yeah, I think key to the game. I mean, we just can't. The Ravens just can't beat the Ravens in this one. We can't beat ourselves. I think if we take care of the football, limit the penalties, and just get Lamar as many opportunities as we can give him, I think we win the game easily. I don't think this should be a close game. We need to rely on that run game and have Derrick Henry just running the ball, weighing down on the defense. It's going to be a super, super cold game. After a while, it might look a little crazier for them than we've seen already from Derrick Henry. As far as running the football, I think he just needs to have a big day. He had over 100 yards in that last game that we won. That seemed to be a working formula. It would be nice if we didn't have to get those turnovers to get in a position we did, because, as we know, if our Darius Washington doesn't get that hit on Russell Wilson, that game looks a lot different. But I just think as long as we don't get in our own head, as long as Lamar is not forced to press, and as long as he's not pressing to make decisions and things like that, I think we'll be fine. Todd Monken, he has to have a day. Just keep the main thing the main thing. We need to run the ball and live in that play action. And I think Rashad Bateman might have a huge day in this game coming off of the play action. I mean, obviously, our tight ends are going to play a huge factor, but I think on big plays, I think there's plenty of opportunity for big plays in this game with Rashad Bateman, and also, just with our backs in general. But I just think we just have to be consistent in our game plan here. No self-inflicted wounds. I think just making sure that we don't do that, I think we'll be fine. Like, this should not be a complicated game to win. It's just a matter of doing what we're coming there to do, and that's to run the ball in this cold weather and kill y'all with play action all day long. And Lamar, is still a division game. It's playoffs, but it's a division game. Use your legs if you got to. If it's there, take it. It's all about taking everything that they give you in this game. Lullaby them to sleep with that run game and hit them with the big play off the play action. And that's that. And as far as defensively, we do know, it's almost a guarantee that we're going to see Justin Fields in this game. I mean, the last time we played them, we didn't see him. And I think I'm not sure if he was hurt or if it was his first game back. I can't remember, but we didn't see him. And, at this point, they're the underdogs. So it's not really a high-risk situation for them anymore. They're going to literally try everything they can do to win the game. So, that's what I'm mainly concerned with, would be just containing Justin Fields if he is in the game, and making sure that we're not that we're being disciplined, and we're not, we're setting the edge correctly and things like that. And, also preventing Jaylen Warren from having a big day. I haven't been as concerned with Najee as of late, but Jaylen Warren is a solid back as well, and it's still going to be under 20 degrees, and it's still going to be cold out there. So we got to make sure that we're tackling as well. So, all in all, don't make mistakes. Try to limit the penalties. Brandon Stevens, I'm going to be praying. I'm going to be praying that he can find the ball in this football game, because the moon ball is coming. The moon ball is coming every game. You're going to see it at least 3 to 4 times. And that doesn't just include just George Pickens. That includes Mike Williams as well, because I haven't seen him drop a pass on the Steelers team yet. So, we just got to limit the big plays. Hopefully Zachary Orr can dial up some stunts, get this D-line some more sacks, just to kind of eliminate that problem altogether. But all in all, just take care of the football. Don't commit penalties. Run the football. Play action when we need to. And don't get behind the sticks. And I think we win the game easily. So I don't think it's a complicated game plan. We just run it back. We just run it back the way we played it the last game, but even better than that.
I feel real confident going into this game. I know I shouldn't, because it's the Ravens, and we've been down this hardball road before. But I'm confident as hell. I think offensively, the thing I'm really confident in is there are 2 games this year, one where Zay got hurt and another one where Zay wasn't much of a factor in the game plan. That's the Bills and the Buccaneers. And one of our key guys in that game is coming back this week, Justice Hill. Against the Bills, he had 78, 80 yards receiving and a touchdown. Buccaneers, he had 6 catches, I want to say about 50 yards and a touchdown. This is someone that when we're missing those quick plays or we need some yak, we can go to him. Justice is also somebody we can send on a wheel route down the field. I think he's going to be a key factor and honestly the X factor in this game. I think we see a high dosage of Justice Hill in the passing game, especially with the conditions the way they're going to be. So I think that's a big key right there. The other part of this, we're going to probably see a heavy target dosage to Mark Andrews. I know we're wanting this to be a Rashad Bateman legacy game, or at least I do, because I'm starting to jump on the bandwagon. But I think this game is going to be won in the middle of the field and in the flats. And I think offensively, that's where we're gonna really attack. I think Derrick Henry, there's no way in hell he gets less than 18 carries. I'm sorry. After last year, after early this year, there is no way in hell Derrick Henry gets less than 18 carries in this game. There's going to be a heavy dosage of Derrick Henry. I think that I'm not worried about the keys. I think we will be solid on offense, but I think that's how we'll attack. Defensively, it's going to come down to pressuring Russell Wilson. We've already said it. He's been turnover prone lately, fumbles, interceptions. He holds the ball too long, waiting for these guys to be open. This could be the Oweh legacy game. I think this is a game where Odafe Oweh can get some pressure on Russell Wilson and have 2 to 3 sacks. Or Kyle Van Noy. I think our pass rush is going to be key because he holds the ball, but we have to be physical. We have to, we have to be very efficient with our moves. But it's really going to come down to the pressure from our pass rushers. I think there's nothing that really scares me from their receiving core. I know last game we gave up, one pass to Calvin Austin, but I think that's an outlier. I think that's frankly it was my man Wiggins he just fell asleep in the game. But I don't think there's anybody that scares me. I mean, last game, I think George Pickens had 6 drops by himself.
Mm-hmm.
So he may be completely mentally checked out or weak right now. So I think there's nothing that scares me in their passing game. I think what scares me is us reverting to not communicating, being antsy, not playing our game, not being up to the game, taking the Steelers lightly. But I think if we get out the Russ, I don't think they have a chance, because when you get after Russell Wilson, he folds. He takes the sack or turns the ball over.
Out here just taking sacks.
I try not to say it, y'all. I try not to say it.
An emphatic he takes the sack is crazy.
Yeah. But he does. He takes the sack. Time and time again. So I think if we put pressure on him, I think this game, I mean, the line is at 9.5, but I think this game could get ugly. If we are able to put pressure on Russell Wilson, this game could be ugly. And when I say ugly, I mean in the vein of that Houston Texans game. But I think it really just comes down to us, like, being ready for the game, Harbaugh motivating these guys. Like you said, Miles, us not waiting and feeling things out, but attacking from jump. True Raven football happens when we are the enforcer, we are the aggressor. And I think if we do that in all 3 phases of the game, I think this isn't a close game. I think Steelers end the season losing 5 in a row. Mike Tomlin gets fired, and he'll end up as a consultant on the Ravens.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I doubt that. He'll be a head coach in 2 seconds after that. He get fired,
he'll get hired by somebody. No, but yeah, that's it shouldn't be close, right? Yeah, I think it feels like the Ravens just should dominate this game, but we know how these Ravens-Steelers games go. These divisional games go. They get wonky. But that's only if the Ravens allow it to. I think only if the Ravens allow it to, for sure. But anyway, so before we get out of here, scores. WildCard game, 8:00 at the bank. What do we got? What's the score?
If they do everything that we all said is keys to the game, if they go boom, 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 check every box, which I think they'll get most of that list, man. Honestly, I'm kind of with Travis. I don't think this is going to be a close game. At least not, the score. At least the score won't dictate how the game has gone.
Mm-hmm.
But I got the Ravens winning this game. I do think we're going to put up 30 plus points again. I'm going to say they put up 35, and the Steelers are going to put up. You know what? I want to give the Steelers 20, but I don't even know if they can I'm gonna give them 30. I'm gonna give them 20 points. I'm gonna say 35-20. It's not a typical Ravens Steelers score. When I initially went into it, I thought it was gonna be a lot lower than the previous meeting, but for some reason, I just don't trust their defense. And as much as I trust our defense, I think it might be a garbage score at the end of that game. So yeah, 35-20 for me. Ravens win, take home the dub, moving on.
38-10. I'm calling it. I think it's a total manslaughter. Yeah. Nah, bring on Eddie Jackson. I'm done.
I'm gonna be a little bit more pedestrian. I'll say Ravens 24-13. I think they'll win. It's two score game.
It's cold.
But
cold.
I think it's gonna be cold. I think that factors in. The Steelers struggle to even score like 18 points in most games, and the way Russ has been playing, I think what's gonna happen too. I think because they know Russ is going to want to throw a few of those deep passes to George Pickens. I feel like Kyle Hamilton and Zach Orr are going to bait him in doing that. And there's going to be at least one interception off one of those plays. Mm-hmm. One for those deep. It's just going to be because they know it's going to happen. And I feel like it's going to be he's going to get pressure. He's just going to throw it up there. It's going to be one of those sky balls. And then Kyle Hamilton's going to pop. Just going to get the ball. So, but look, having Marlon Humphrey get a pick six, having Nate Wiggins get a pick six in the last few weeks, the cornerbacks are hot right now. So, I'm glad Nate Wiggins got that out of his system. I think we all said that once he gets that out of it, gets the first one, gets out of the system, he'll be ready to go. So I anticipate, I think the Ravens, if they can control turnovers here and just keep the ball out of keep from putting the ball on the ground, this game is hopefully we sitting back, drinking whiskey, drinking rum, just feet on the table,
Mm-hmm. Enjoying Sunday,
getting ready
playoff games the next day.
Getting ready to go play the Bills. I think we have to go play. We would go play the Bills. I think
if the Bills win.
I got the
Broncos.
You guys said
I got the
Bills
Broncos.
win.
I got the Broncos.
Wilder things have happened. So that's it from us. Everybody have a safe weekend, and hopefully the Ravens get this one, and we continue to do this pod next week. Talk about the divisional playoffs for the Ravens, hopefully. So, thanks again. We'll catch you guys later. Peace.